situation where you find that they look at this.
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
But I have said that.
All right, thank you for staying with us. And if you're just joining, you're watching Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. We'll be taking a look at the Daily Trust newspaper, which is the first we'll be looking at this morning. The first story there talks about court to DSS, give Kanu maximum comfort in detention. That's on page 4 of Daily Trust newspaper. The next story there, police arrest 13 as thugs attack Barrow's campaign office in Kano. Pictures of that went viral on social media yesterday. Of course, as 2023 draw closer, you begin to see all of these kind of dramas. The lead story on the Daily Trust newspaper says, Omicron, crude oil drops below $70 per barrel as travel ban threats recovery. Restrictions will affect Nigeria's economy. That's according to experts. And then the next one says aviation sector at risk. That's IATA. You would also see the picture of there showing you President Muhammadu Buhari receiving a briefing from the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, the Nigerian ambassador to UAE, Mohammed and Santa Rimi, and then the National Security Advisor, Babagana Mongunu. And then, of course, the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Otumba Adeni, at the Expo 2020 in Dubai yesterday. Also below that, 2020, NPC plans e-census in security risk areas. You will find that on page 6. Also at the very bottom, Na Abba to Buhari endorsed direct primaries. Why I built Al-Majri schools, the former President Goodluck Jonathan. Kaduna to sack, prosecute 233 teachers working with fake certificates. Well, that's alarming. Someone will say, what's it with Erufai and teachers? for crying out loud. I mean, but it just goes to show that the state is committed to making sure that children get the best of education, no matter what happens. Recall the massive sack, of teachers in the state as a result of their failure to pass the very exams in which they give students to write and all of that. So, well, I would say it's commendable. I mean, it's going to be painful, it's going to be hard, but the right things has to be done. Right. Someone has to take the tough decisions. Right. And it's good that the governor is taking the pain and is willing to carry the cross and the burden that comes with taking the unpopular decisions. Well, let's take a look at other stories.
Okay, let's take a look at the stories on the Punch newspaper this morning. On page 22 of the Punch, you'd find airport concession. ICRC completes evaluation of buy Courtney, 12 local foreign firms. You'd still find on page 22, 5G auction. Glow missing as NCC qualifies MTN, Airtel, and another new firm. You'd also find on page 21, Borno, Osun, Kogi lead dirtiest states, clean up Nigeria. And on page 7, you'd see reps invite INEC over funding, challenge for direct primaries. And the Punch newspaper is leading with the story, Omicron. States resume testing. Demand funds, variant spreads to 23 countries. One of the riders states vaccine hesitancy, funding of molecular labs, major challenges. That's according to Cross River State. And the other rider states low vaccination drive in Nigeria's rural areas, feeling transmission, says World Health Organization. So these are some of the major stories on the Punch newspaper this morning.
All right, let's take a look at the Nation newspaper. There you would see the first story. It talks about ex-Senate President Wayas dies at age 80. And that's a sad one there. LASU students, activists to join Sanwo-Olu in peace walk. So recall that there was this reactions that trailed the invitation of the governor to be joined for a peace walk with respect to the white paper that was released by the committee on the hashtag EndSARS. Also, you'd find other stories. 10 months after, Emirates Airlines returned to Nigeria's sky. Well, that's you can pick a copy and get the details of that. Judge to Kanu's lawyer, stop writing me directly. All right. Below that, federal government inaugurates 40.27 kilometers Enugu-Ebonyi Road. The lead story also talks about pressure on Buhari to reject electoral amendment bill. INEC yet to act on Buhari's request. Governors insist on indirect primary. December 19 deadline for president to sign. CSO's assent will aid electoral reforms. You'd also see Nigerian investors lose 553 billion naira in 4 months. Sell pressure stokes anxiety. You also see why census should hold before 2023 general elections by Nigeria Population Commission. Budget timelines submitted to government. So very interesting. Recall that I think about a week ago, we had a commissioner from the NPC in the studio here, where he talked about the plans of the NPC to embark on a census. It's more than almost 20 years since we had the last census. I mean, in 2006. 2006. Yes.
Yes, that was the last census we had.
So that's a long time ago, for heaven's sake. Well, let's take a look at other stories.
Okay, let's look into the Guardian newspaper this morning. The lead story there, 31 million PLWDs suffer as 23 states neglect disability rights. That's quite interesting because this issue, we're going to be discussing this issue with a guest later who will be coming from the Inclusive Friends Association, to take a look at disability rights, and the conversations around that topic. Now, one of the riders, MDAs, yet to implement Buhari's directive 3 years after disability law passage. You'd also find government, private sector charged to promote disability inclusion. Nigeria ranks 9th, needs $1.1 billion for humanitarian assistance in 2022. You'd also find on The Guardian, court reschedules Nnamdi Kanu's trial for January 18th, 2022. Kanu, police arrest 13 suspects for alleged attack on senator's campaign office. You'd also see on page 7 of The Guardian newspaper, EFCC rearraigns Fayose others over alleged money laundering. These are some of the major stories on The Guardian newspaper this morning.
All right, now let's take a look at the This Day newspaper, and where you have a number of stories there. The first one at the very top says, finally, Emirates reinstates Nigeria-Dubai route, commences flight December 5. And then you see Nembe oil spill leaking wellhead to be contained in few days, says ITO. Also, the lead story on This Day talks about, it says, despite emergency oil releases, Omicron fears OPEC sticks to 400,000 barrels per day supply hike. The rider, Nigeria gets 1.683 million barrels per day, January quota. Also, you'd find receives December 17th deadline to submit compliance plan. LASU students, activists to join Sanwo-Olu in Lagos Peace Walk. You would also see the president there in Dubai, where he went to attend an expo. You would see also how Indians rule global technology companies. These are some of the stories on This Day. For details, you can pick a copy of that. Well, that's that for the papers that we have today. We told you we have Omonu Nelson in the studio to review the papers with us. Good morning again. Welcome.
Welcome to the program.
Now, already there's a scare in the air, like we are seeing on some of the stories here. The Daily Trust leads with a story about a drop in the, price of crude oil. It appears that we're about to go through the same routes like we did some last year also.
That is the pain, and that's another sore point especially for countries like Nigeria, like you mentioned earlier, rely mostly on accruals from crude oil to finance our budget. It's going to be another grinding moment for us. But then the most painful thing is having to go through the ban on it emanated from South Africa, and in order not to repeat the earlier mistake, because when this broke out earlier in 2019, countries were reluctant to actually shut borders, ban people coming in, visitors coming in from the countries, from China and all that. So that now gave COVID-19 all the time to spread to other countries, and before decisive action, before countries start evolving decisive action, we realize that it has penetrated. It has penetrated to all corners of the world, and I think governments around the world have learned from the 2019 experience and decide to immediately, good for South Africa, that is what is supposed to be. Immediately they discover that there is another variant. They alerted World Health Organization that, look, this is something else. Right. Now, the decision, the reaction is neither here nor there. Countries has the right to protect their citizens from, or maybe they are shut their borders or restrict people from South Africa from coming in and all that. And South Africa, on the other hand, South Africa is beginning to feel bad. Why? Why are we being banned? Is it because we alerted the World Health Organization about the outbreak and all that? It is neither here nor there.
And when you think about it, the Omicron vaccine, variant of the COVID-19 is not the first variant that we've seen after the first. Yes. We've had the Delta variant and all of that, but I have not seen that kind of reaction. Yes. When we had the Delta variant.
Experience is the best teacher, they say. But haven't learned from the outbreak in 2019 and the Delta variant and all that. I think countries are beginning to take proactive measures to ensure that they limit the extent these new variants can penetrate because they know the cost. They are still counting the cost.
But some African leaders, are of the opinion that it is because this variant is coming from an African country. Yes, and so that they're trying to subdue Africa in some way.
I think it's victim mentality, whether you like it or not. A lot of pain has been incurred. Countries has gone through pains, because of possibly weather or something. We've not really had a pinch of COVID. We didn't have pinch of COVID-19, just like in Europe, that has extremely cold weather, America and all that. So, if they react the way they are reacting to it, I'm not going to blame them. Why I won't blame them is with the figures from COVID-19 when it broke out, and the number of people they have to it's sad. So you don't blame anybody for taking any action at this time to prevent anything from coming into their country, irrespective of whether it's coming from Africa or it's from countries of Europe and all that. If you don't want to be despised, up your economic power, so that when issues like this come up, there will weigh between because let's be realistic here. In international politics, there is nothing like sentiment. It's your interest, the interest of your nation first. You are part of global community, but also you are there to get part of the cake for your people. And when, for instance, if, okay, let's, on the flip side, if we say this variant is from the US, countries will have to look at how significant is US to their economy. If they are ready to pay the price to allow visitors to continue to enter their country from the US, they will have waged, look, US is indispensable to what we do here. So let's see if we can bear the pains. But then, if they look at what we have to benefit from this country, so it's not worth the pain to leave our borders open or to still allow visitors into our country. So,
I'm just, wondering, though, the kind of cover that we are taking, here in Nigeria. We appear to, heavily depend on the vaccination, that the vaccination campaign and the drive that is ongoing right now. As to other measures, I don't know if we are really, up and doing with respect to the Omicron variant.
Yes, well, the South African president visits and all that is coming at a time. There's a lot of misgivings about that decision at this time, and what we are having with regard to COVID vaccine, the figures are really not good. I think less than 2% of our population has been vaccinated, and that is not good. So, but a lot of factors here. Our mindset is something else. Some people believe the same people who goes to hospital, when they feel some pains, they go to hospital. Doctor tells them, look, this is, or maybe they are diagnosed and say, this is what is wrong with you. The same person now is giving, okay, they will give birth, go to hospital to be vaccinated against measles and against all that. But the same people are now saying that this vaccine, we are suspecting it. There is something.
A lot of conspiracy theories.
A lot of conspiracy theories flying everywhere. So right. I think it will be better if we start taking the vaccine, and government needs to do more to be able to convince the people that, look, this is, by campaign is very important, and that is where we have institutions like NOA and all that, because when you show me someone who has taken the vaccine, about 10 people who took the vaccine about 3 months ago, and they are still living healthy, they are still okay, I think it will go a long way.
So I want us to talk about this Kaduna teachers, saga. Again, after the government have taken the pain and the bold decision to sack massively, teachers, we are seeing yet the recruitment of fresh teachers that are supposed to come and, sanitize and salvage the situation are also coming to present fake certificates.
That's right.
So that's taking us back.
That is the irony of the Nigerian society. I think that the gap is in Nigeria is between what is supposed to be and what it is now. Now, leadership, in leadership engagements, anybody can say yes. The greatest test of leadership capacity or ability is the ability to say no. And that is, I think that at this point, I will give it to Governor Nasir El-Rufai, that he possesses the capacity to say no when he is supposed to say no. And that is leadership. We give that to him. We grew up in rural areas, having good education. And why is teachers see themselves first not as salary earners. They see themselves first as people who impact the built generations. Those are to be remembered tomorrow. When they see people they trained some years ago doing well, their joy comes from there first, apart from the care from government or remuneration and all that. So when one of the missing link in the educational system is recruitment, teachers recruitment process. It has been skewed, especially these things got so bad. I think from 1999, when politicians started bringing in their thoughts and see, there was a case in, I'm not going to mention the state now, but I'm very familiar with the state. So at the Teaching Service Commission, there is provision for a secondary school, it is in the record that a particular secondary school exists in a community, whereas there's nothing like that. But let me tell you, in the record, the secondary school I'm talking about had principal, had vice principal, had everything, teachers working there. Meanwhile, there is none. There's a place
school
It's
does
not
not
registered.
it doesn't exist.
Terrible.
It doesn't exist. But
A ghost school.
everything,
So
including
You know-
we've
you know,
gone
this
beyond
bring-
having
it's-
ghost teachers
Yes.
or
So a
ghost
ghost
workers.
school.
Now we are now talking about
Ghost
ghost schools.
Yes.
institutions.
So you see, and you go to villages. Experience has shown that politicians will put some of their loyalists. They are on payroll. They are not doing anything. But to formalize it, they get them. Even those that are not qualified, get certificate. Come and enter here. They will be paying you, and education suffers. So now, the decision of Malam Nasir El-Rufai is the best anybody can take. See, leadership is about, you don't have to live. After all, we are celebrating Martin Luther King today. Died some about 68 or thereabout. We are still celebrating him. The whole of US dedicate a whole day to one person. There is nobody like that. Why? Because of price of leadership. He paid the price. It's not how long you live, but the impact you've been able to. Malam Nasir El-Rufai has demonstrated in clear terms that leadership is about impact, and that is, he knows quite well that education is already suffering in Nigeria. Between 10 and 13 million out of school children. That is already a disaster waiting to happen on its own. So, and having fake teachers who don't, possess the required qualification to teach children is also another problem on its own.
Not to talk
So
about the
I
threats
think-
of insecurity.
I
as well.
think if you are a leader and you allow this kind of mess to go unattended, that is to say that you have a place on the wrong side of history. But for this decision, I think it is the best any right-thinking person, any nationalist, a good politician would have.
Okay. You know, we've been seeing this coming from particularly Kaduna State.
Yes.
Would you say we need to look inward into other parts of the country because we're going to find this also coming up?
See, why Kaduna is in the news is as simple as somebody is courageous to take decisions, irrespective of whose horse is God, irrespective of whatever name you are going to call him. And I think it is the decision. Apart from, you see, if you go to Kaduna, you see practical why leadership exists. So it's the same thing that is bringing to bear in education sector. When I think at a point, he took his child to school, went by himself, registered the child to encourage more people to come to. I think if you have taken that kind of pains to pass through all that, and it's the same school that somebody will go to a business center, or maybe the school, the system he did not pass through, he just purchased a certificate that I am a teacher. You see, if we can mortgage anything, not teachers. That is the best. That is where there are countries that, but I think in South Korea, so teachers take better pay than ministers and high government officials.
I think
That
this
yeah.
brings me to this particular question.
Right.
You know, when we're growing up, we see teachers, people say their reward is in heaven because of how, they nurture children and they do it wholeheartedly. Would you say that notion have changed over time because of the inability of the government to look into their welfare?
I think it's you can't treat it in isolation. They all are societal value over time has degenerated. Yes. And that is it. That has impacted on teachers also, because where we have gotten to a point in our life, in our society, that what people worship is wealth, not what the impact you can make. Name has become useless. That is what the driving force of the teachers of my era, for instance. It was when they come to when I was to leave from primary school to secondary school, a particular miss, she's still alive. I still go like, after God, my parents is her. Because she told my father that, look, I need to pay for this boy, but we just have to move him jump from class 5 to secondary school. You get it? They go from house to house, and their driving force is that name, that satisfaction they derive from being a teacher. People, they are respected in the society. Irrespective of whatever they are paid, they are contented. It is that missing link. Now, and the same teachers are living in a society where wealth determines what you can get. Your right is not even it's not there, except you have money.
Right.
So everybody wants to have money. So as far as I'm concerned, there's a lot we need to do about teachers.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now, let's look at other stories on the papers. The nation talks about pressure on the president to reject electoral amendment bill. There's a conversation, about direct primaries or not direct primaries. The governors are kicking and saying, no, we don't want, direct primaries and all of that. And it appears that other voices seem to be, more comfortable with this idea of direct primaries.
Let me, before I weigh in on this, let me give an example. Start with example to give us clear understanding of what is going on here. When there are countries, there are leaders of countries, leaders of thought. When Mandela was released and became president of South Africa, he came under undue pressure to continue as leader. If he had decided to continue until he dies, of course, that goodwill was there. But he told them in plain truth that I'm not out for this. The purpose why I became the president is already done. So I'm on my way out. He said that 3 years into his administration, he started ceding power to Thabo Mbeki, his deputy. See, leadership is about legacy. See, President Muhammadu Buhari has the golden moments to write his name. See, whether we like it or not, we are not in the world to play politics. We are in the world we are going to give account of everything we do, whether it is certain that the good books has already promised that whatever we do, apart from here, the goodwill we leave for our people, we are still going to give account of it. Life is not about politics. Don't forget, in 2010, somebody summoned courage and signed 2010 Electoral Act as amended. That gave some credibility to the election of 2015. Life is supposed to be progress. I mean, that 2010, now if we sign this now, a transmission of a result electronically, we are up in and by the time in the next 10 years, we are looking at other amendments that will confer credibility on our electoral process. President Muhammadu Buhari should close his ears to the people, because those people are not going to write his history. It is the people, it is Nigerians, it is children on the street now. It is the people that are standing by now that are going to say, oh, after all, this man meant well for Nigeria, and he demonstrated as so and so. He was able to demonstrate that. He was able to demonstrate that he's a true statesman. See, this is his golden moment. Politics aside, legacy is there. What people are going to remember you for. To some extent, I attended some programs recently that about 2-3 leaders, African leaders, made some remarks about President Buhari, having, especially in the area of his character. Yes, I was elated to hear that. Immediately they said that he added something to what I believe about him. This also can be part of what people are going to say about him, because every other variables depend on good election. If we have our election process right, irrespective, see, hunger does not know political party. hunger does not know political party or where you come from. Is it as if you are hungry, you are hungry. What you need, you can even go to your enemy. If your enemy is carrying food, and hunger can prompt you to.
So with this debate going on now, what in your opinion is the best, for Nigerians as a country? What is the best for our electoral process in Nigeria?
Sign it, so that it will be progress, incremental progress on what happened in 2010. If you look at it, that it was someone, he had his own political party, and despite pressures from...
But are you not, what about the issues raised, by those who said, look, these direct primaries, we do not have the funds, to run direct primaries, is too expensive, and some of the arguments also that have been raised.
It's the cheapest.
It's
the cheapest. See, politicians will always look, especially not to right-minded ones, we look for any excuse to puncture any good initiative. So if you say political parties is made up of, there is political party because they are members. So why you don't want to give members opportunity to select who is going to be their candidate. So you want to confer who becomes the candidate of a political party to few individuals. So what is the political party there? Yes, if you ask me, if you take away democracy, starts from how candidates emerge, and that is what we are the missing link on this one of the missing links in our democracy. If you say I belong to so party, this person belongs to so party. So, but the person has no right or power to say, okay, from this state now, we are the stakeholders. We are members of this party. So this is the person we want to be our flag bearer. So, how are you a member of a political party when you don't have the power to decide who is going to? So I've witnessed this before. In those days, it was direct primaries, the aborted IBB transition. People queue up and they count. Let me give practical example. I was in Makurdi, and that was how Reverend Father Moses Adasu in Benue emerged, because it was direct primaries. Political party members, if you are a card-carrying member of the party, they line up and you are counted. So by the time results, just like this normal election. And so that is the Reverend Father, who is not a mainstream politician, but he was able to break in because they left it to party people to decide who they want to be their candidate.
Okay, now, why do you think, governors are against, direct primaries?
See, for their own end. Yes, because, listen, if you go to state assembly, at the presidency, it's even better. See, what the president is taking from the governors will not take from those under them. Let me give you state assemblies now are like, they are just like a part of a briefcase of a governor. Yes, yeah. They are part of a briefcase of a governor, because whatever he wants is what he gets from the state assembly. And how did that happen? The people there were handpicked. The governor has overwhelming influence on who represents constituency 1, constituency 2, like that. So from the beginning, they try to influence who is going to come into state assembly. Then if you are one who can bear independent opinion, you don't get there. You don't get there because the governors are like emperors in their various states. So the state assembly is not there to check the governor, what the governor is doing. So whatever he brings is what passes. So what hope do you, is there any hope under that kind of arrangement for the downtrodden or the electorate? No. Why the governors are against this is as simple as, look, let this man not come and spoil our show. We must continue to decide who comes into the state assembly so that we can still continue to have our way, to do whatever we like. So, and the people themselves, you see, politicians, if at local level, for instance, this is the person they prefer, but because they don't have the right, it's just like my own constituency, for instance. 2 people will represent my ward, or like 5 people represents my ward, to go and vote who is going to be. That's not democracy.
Sometimes you don't even know who the delegates
You
are.
don't know. You don't know.
And how they are even selected.
How they are
Sometimes it's like
selected
they are
is
even
just something
handpicked
else.
and all that. Well, also with the issue of the electoral amendment is this issue of independent candidacy. Do you see that also as a game changer, you know, as we approach the 2023, if we are able to pass that through?
I think it will be the best thing, best leap for our democracy if we are able to get it right. I was in April, I was in Monrovia, Liberia, for a conference, and something struck me. There were 2 independent part of ECOWAS Parliament. There are 2 independent members. That is to say that one from Sierra Leone and the other from Gambia. So when they announced them, and a friend told me these are independent lawmakers. They just emerged based on their credit, no political party or anything. I took interest in them and I started engaging them, like interviewing them. You will. The session is on. They are here. They are in Nigeria at the moment, and what they told me is mind-boggling. One told me that because he don't belong to political party, so political party will come to Chief's Palace and stop there. But he goes from where bike can no longer go, he will park his bike. Where car cannot go, he will park his car, take bike. Where bike stops, he will trek. Where bicycle can pass through, he will use. And he was visiting people like that with the little resources that he has been doing it over time. So he is known for that kind of work. He don't have much, but that the little he has, he used to support education, go from house to house to encourage parents to take their school. If they complain that they don't have, that he got some few friends who are supporting him, get him uniform and all that, he'll be able to give to them, please buy books, support them. That is how he was against a very popular candidate. He was able to win. Wow. So he's in his 2nd term now. Even the man from Gambia won under President Yahya Jammeh. That was when he was first elected. That is to tell you that if we are able to ratify, to pull this through, it would be the best thing, because I'm seeing some people who are not satisfied with the political party system we have, because they believe that is the purview of corruption. But they believe that if there is provision for independent candidature, that will be the game changer. They will go into politics.
I really hope that works
Yeah,
for us
we
down here
look
in
forward to
Nigeria.
yes, we look forward to seeing that. Well, thank you so much for coming on the program this morning and giving us your perspectives on these stories. We've been speaking with Omonu Nelson Yakubu. He is a publisher, Summit Post newspaper. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We look forward to having you again.
Thank you, Trust TV, and congratulations for a very good start.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right.
All right. Now we will just hold on. All right. We will go on a quick break, and then when we come back, we will be taking our first discussion on the program. Please stay with us.
But in a situation where you find that they look at the same,
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
I have said that